Hi, everyone. Hey, welcome and happy Sunday to you. My name is Bill Free, as many of you probably already know. And this is our first opportunity to speak to you with a Q&A session for the non-dual translation of A Course in Miracles that I started doing about 2 years ago and decided to make public, just to make it available to everyone because I started doing the Facebook Lives, and probably a month in, I started realizing that a lot of people were they were going much deeper with A Course in Miracles just from the retranslation. And it's not really a retranslation as much as it's it's the non-dual interpretation of the language. It's taking out the pronouns and the entities and some of the Christian language that we get stuck on. And it just became such a great transmission that I continued doing it. It was really almost by a spontaneous accident that I began doing the retranslation of A Course in Miracles workbook lessons. And then I moved into the manual for teachers, the clarification of terms, and the instructions. There's 14 instructions after workbook lesson. I think it's about 220. There's the 14 instructions that go along with the workbook lessons. And I've had many of you write to me and say and ask questions about the workbook, the translation. What does this mean in the workbook lessons, and what does that mean? And so I just got a intuition maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago to offer this Q&A sessions on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern. And thank you for joining me here. The way we'll do this is if you have a question, we're looking at the introduction to the workbook lessons this week, and today was lesson 9. So if you have a question about any of those workbook lessons, please use the raise hand feature and raise your hand, and I'll do the best I can to answer your question about the workbook lesson, or maybe a question that you might have about my interpretation if it's not really clear for you. Or if you have any questions whatsoever about the course anywhere. I've read the course about 10 times, and I've been following it with a great love for the course since 2006. And I was able to meet Ken Wapnick, and he was my first teacher of the course. And then I moved on to other teachings, and the non-dual teaching really became something that became a new heart. It really pulled on my heart. And then after I had a clear understanding of the direct experience that is available through the non-dual teaching, I realized that the Course in Miracles, it really is pointing to the same thing, but most of the people that I know who are only following the Course, they get stuck in the concepts of the Course, and mostly don't have the direct experience that is available to all of us. So without further ado, if anyone has questions, please put your hands up, and I'll start answering questions for you. And I'm not going to give a presentation. I think this is really for a Q&A session for people that are interested in or maybe have questions about some of the workbook lessons. Hi, Rana. Good to see you. Welcome. Can you
Thank
please
you.
unmute your mic? Hi. How
Good
you doing?
afternoon. I wanted to talk about yesterday's lesson and about my direct experience that I had with that yesterday.
Oh,
I,
cool. So lesson 8?
yep. And so, and it intrigued me because you, during the explanation, were really focusing in on that mind. Our mind is actually blank, right? It's preoccupied with tons of thoughts. I think they are, but when I really investigate what those thoughts are, yesterday's lesson made me see that, first of all, they're from the past, whether I'm labeling it or telling a little story. Like I was listening to music and this whole story rushes back from me being 20 years old or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I also listened to Lisa's version of the 365 as well. And she really focused in on that. Your mind is blank, and what a mind blower that is to think that our mind is blank. So, in my practice of the lesson yesterday, I really, at one point, I was like, okay, so this is what I'm thinking about. This is not right now. What am I thinking about? Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing.
And it was like, aha.
Well,
So,
there still can be a chitty chatter, and that doesn't mean the chitty chatter's not there. It just really means that the chitty chatter is meaningless. They're meaningless thoughts
right, right.
that are about the past or the future, and they should be treated like a passing cloud. Just allow them to be exactly as they are. Don't be invested in attaching your identity or even just trying to figure out what does this mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in between each of those clouds is where I anticipate, as I practice more, that's where my mind becomes filled with God's mind or awareness's mind or just being there.
Yeah.
And, so that in between phase where that silence is, the perfume of silence, like Francis Lucille,
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. That's exciting.
I'm enjoying these workbook lessons again. As I said, I still have a love for the course, even though I really have come to love the direct path and non-dual understanding. It is what the course is pointing to. If you go to the manual for teachers, it is the resurrection. It is the single love of the Son for the Father, which means it's the single love of I am for itself, as itself. Yes. Good to see you, Rana. Thank you for coming and thank you for the question. And Rana, for all of you, she was on those first workbook lessons in on the Facebook Live. She was there every day, and had she was just totally like a bright light every single morning. After a couple of weeks, I could see, oh my God, this one here, she's really getting this. And I know that it has completely changed your life, and it has inspired me to continue on to do more things. And like I said, I get emails from people that would like to ask what some of these things mean. And so this just came in. I'm going to have the Q&A sessions on Sundays, and here we are. Christine, you have your hand up. Would you please unmute your mic?
Yeah. I'm just becoming aware of where roadblocks are for me. And, I'll be traveling along, with ease, and then all of a sudden something pops up. And one of them is just trying to figure out a distinction between sympathy and empathy. I'll get caught up in thoughts about other people, not myself necessarily, but that'll bring up a whole lot of emotions that I have always interpreted as sympathy, you know, something very good and positive, but it's all very fear-based and not necessarily coming from this place of pure love and healing and openness and miracles. It's like this constrictive feeling of, oh, I feel so bad. Blah. But I find that is within me a lot. And then my mind clicks in and it says, oh, but you should feel sympathy because that's a good thing. You know, that's a very, very wonderful human, it means you're connected and it means that you're a good person. So these are just things like this week that have been popping up to me and become very exposed. Like, hold on, I need to rethink or examine or even release things of that nature. So that's just what I was going to share.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what you're expressing is a norm for all of us, and I'm going to give you a shortcut. You're not going to. It's such a shortcut that you may think it's too easy. You don't need to figure out anything. You don't need to understand the difference between empathy or sympathy. You can, and because what you are is pure awareness. What you are is pure presence, and the difference between sympathy and empathy is really it's the mind's activity of comparisons. It's comparing this over that, and which one is it? And there's such a shorter point to what you're really looking for is how to stay present and in love. How to stay in that presence of I am as God created me. The Course uses this that one idea, 26 workbook lessons. And what we all are searching for is the inner peace and presence of I am. You don't really need to know the difference between sympathy and empathy if you're resting in inner peace, if you're resting in God. Because when you're resting in that place, you're going to be sending off a vibe that's going to be the inner peace of God. And when your attention is on the inner peace, when your attention is the presence of I am, then the mind is no longer giving attention to a belief that it's separate from God or from its source. So whatever comes out of your mouth, whatever you have to say to someone that's in a situation, it's going to be inspired from that place of inspiration. That's God's voice speaking through your mouth, through Christine's vessel. It'll be speaking. You'll know exactly what to say to whom, and it may startle you. That's what the Course says, that some of the things that you say may startle you. Some of the things that come across your understanding, it may surprise you when you respond in a certain way. You'll be responding from a place of love. And so to go back to what you were describing as your experience, any time that you have moved into an emotional experience over a situation, you have attached your identity, your I am presence, to the body-mind's interpretation of this experience. So if you just ask yourself one question: in whose behalf it is this emotion serving? Right. You would immediately know that it's the personal self identity that has attached itself to that emotion. And if you can just put your hand on your heart, if that's a good anchor for you, it has been for me. If you could just put your hand on your heart and just be aware of the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, just be aware of them like passing clouds. Don't lean into them. Don't give attention to them other than just to see them like the movie of Christine, and don't touch it. And from that one idea, that one experience, you're actually resting and abiding as the presence of God, as I am. You're abiding in God and resting in God. And that situation will not only pass, it'll dissolve into the nothingness that it came from, and you will be inspired if you're to say something or say nothing. You'll know what to say. And that's what the Course means when it talks about the Holy Spirit a lot. And the Holy Spirit is the I am presence. The one that once you're established in your direct experience as what you are, not who you are, then you're really acting in behalf or as the character of the Holy Spirit. And the Course has a great line in it that says, once you have accepted His plan as the one function that you will fulfill, there will be nothing that the Holy Spirit, and I'm going to change the name of that just for this conversation, there will be nothing that aware presence, the awareness of love's presence, you, not the bodysuit you, but there will be nothing that the awareness of love's presence will not prepare for you before you reach it, making straight your path, and everything you need will be given to you in that experience. So if you just take the shortcut of resting in awareness, that will sum up my answer to all 365 workbook lessons with whatever faces you in life. Resting in awareness.
Thank you. Thank you. My ego is not arguing with you right now in this moment, but like an
Nice,
octopus.
nice. Because the ego is just is also just a passing cloud.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As we're sitting quietly, just allow aware presence to be the space that we're giving attention to, the awareness of love's presence. This can be a kind of a meditation experience also. Ariana, do you have a question?
Can you hear me?
I can, yep.
Okay. It's been really helpful to, I've been with the Course for a while, but it has been really helpful to go with Rupert and the non-dual, because I'm finding more of a space between my intense emotions and and myself, where before that I was just caught up in trying to do it myself, with the Course, but still too much of the separate me trying to do it. You know what I mean? And but what I'm finding is I still think that I'm going through purification now, and it's like I've dissolved pretty much like all of the emotions that I had, all of the things that I had. I'm not attached to them anymore, but I just feel awful a lot. Like there's just a almost like a death energy, a depressed energy that is not connected to any thoughts or emotions that I'm going through at this moment. So I still use the course and say, this is coming up from the past. This is in me from the past, because I'm not associating with it now. But what I'm really, the only thing that is fueling my sadness now is that this difficult energy is making it really, really hard to connect with what I am, feeling that vastness, that openness. I've had pieces of it, like I'll listen to Rupert's meditations. I love the now as I am. And it gave me that, feeling for a while, just so that it helped because it just helped me have more space. But I don't know if you have any, I guess I just have to keep at it, right? You probably have no suggestions. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the one suggestion that I have is, and I love this. This came from our Living in Oneness Q&A, when one of the students in that class, she said that she started zooming out like a camera on her experience. And that had such a nice application, because the body-mind experience has many years of habitual default into the residue and experiences and memory and emotional attachments and identities to those experiences. And so there's going to be that's why the temptation to be drawn in is so, it can catch you off guard. It does everyone until it doesn't. And purification is necessary until it's not. And the purification piece is, and I've had this conversation with Rupert in looking at the difference between A Course in Miracles and the progressive path and the non-dual direct path. In the non-dual direct path, the conversation that I had with Rupert is that people have glimpses of their true nature, and it's like, aha, and you get it, and then a lot of people make the mistake of wanting to try to get, how did it leave me, and I want to get it back, and actually what happens is we have glimpses of our true nature, which is tasting the essence of what we are, tasting, seeing, feeling in a visceral way the experience of awakening, and even the Course calls those glimpses, and those glimpses are just tastes of our true self that is just, it's always there, but we immediately attach our identity to the body mind, to the personal self, and it's still there, but we've moved our attention to the objects of experience and the personal self identity. And we have to wait for that for that moment for relaxing back into the spacious presence, and then a glimpse happens again. And that happens initially, especially when you first have those glimpses. It happens, and then it seems like, well, where did it go? And then we have another one, and we have another one, and then eventually it's like the clouds in the sky. If you're thinking about this as a metaphor, the clouds are giving way to a blue sky, and then it gets cloudy again. Well, the sky is always behind the clouds, and it's when they start to thin out and become more and more blue that you're seeing more of the blue sky. And awakening and awareness is kind of like that. With the direct path, you see those glimpses, and you use those glimpses as a establishing that you saw it. And once you see that experience, you don't forget that you had it.
Right.
And with the progressive path of A Course in Miracles, we're undoing our mind. We're constantly, for 365 lessons, and depending on how many years you're doing it, you're always in the forgiveness process. You're forgiving this and forgiving this and forgiving this, and it has a more difficult time coming to or establishing yourself in the permanent experience as awareness.
Well, what has happened at this point is that, sometimes I can't help it. I get sad, but I'm relaxing more. It is what it is. I can't, this person here can't change it. You know what I mean? I think that I put too much responsibility on myself before. And this non-dual approach really helped me to see it's not this part of me that's going to change it.
Well, you don't want to change it. Really, truthfully, Ariana, you need to let sadness be whatever it is.
Yeah.
If
That's what I mean. I am
Ariana
allowing
is
more.
bad, give yourself that telescope effect and watch the Ariana movie, and don't touch it. Just allow, if Ariana wants to be sad, if she wants to be angry, if she wants to be whatever, just give a little bit of space where you're aware of the activity of Ariana, and nothing needs to change. And rest as the awareness, being aware of her activity and welcoming it and loving it just as it is, because there's no right or wrong in the oneness of what God is. There's no good or bad in the non-dual understanding. There's just the isness of pure presence, and that is your true self. Right. So Ariana, at first it sounds a little bit crazy, and it sounds like you need to be doing something, but that's the subtle attraction of the personal self back to the body-mind identity. And just watch the Ariana movie, and don't touch it. She doesn't need to change or do anything different, because the spotlight of awareness is shining a light on those clouds, on those activities of Ariana, and it's going to divest itself. It's going to melt itself back into the presence of I am. And you need do nothing. That's what the Course means when it says you need do nothing. Don't touch it by attaching I am's identity to the personal self. And it takes time. It is gradual. And yes, you are going through a purification, but you don't have to do anything. Awareness does all the melting in. It melts the light of pure presence on everything that Ariana is involved in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, Helen. It's good to see you.
Hi. I just was very touched by what Ariana said. And what happened is, after taking Living in Oneness, this is after years and years with the Course, after taking Living with Oneness, I remember at one point I asked a question and Lisa said, "You haven't gone deep enough." And I thought, oh my gosh, I've gone so deep. I've let go of so much. And what happened is in the last, not last 2 weeks, but a week ago, for the last 2 weeks before that, I just went into this place of deep, deep, deep sorrow, and I let it be. So I really appreciated when you said purification is necessary until it's not. It's just, I would get up in the morning and feel tired and fatigued and depressed, a feeling of depression. And I would just cry for 2 weeks. I was crying on and off all day long. And I just let it be. I let it be. I didn't touch it. And I thought, after a while, I was like, what is this? Screw this. This is, I hate this. And what I really hated it. But then the more I went into that place, that was the mind taking over, body mind. And so I went back to just allowing it to be and just crying my heart out. So I think that was, because you said purification, I think it was like a spiritual shower. I kept crying and crying. Not that it's totally gone, but I feel much better at this point.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I experienced is that switching from one teacher or teaching to another, such as non-duality, is an adaptation process for me. And I think it's kind of shaking up that stuff that's so negative and still needs to come out. So I really didn't have a question, but I just was struck by what Ariana said. And I'm going kind of through the same thing.
Yeah.
But the not touching it is really very helpful. Very, very helpful. So thank you.
Good. Thank you, Helen. Yeah, the other part of the purification piece is that in my conversation with Rupert, this was funny. I was at Garrison. This was a few years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago. And I shot a video with Rupert. We did a 1-hour talk where we were talking about the differences between A Course in Miracles, the progressive path, and the direct path. And his sound man, Jim, came in like 10 minutes into the conversation, and he thought he was turning Rupert's mic up, and he was actually turning my camera mic off. So the whole 1-hour video it only had 10 minutes of sound, so I wasn't able to produce the video that I wanted. But what Rupert said in that video was that even on the direct path, when you have those glimpses of understanding and you totally know the self as I am, you still have to you'll spend the rest of your life doing the purification, going through the undoing until you're finished. And Stephen Bodian, he's one of our speakers in the Pure Presence conferences. He said it this way in the last conference. He's one of Jean Klein's students, and he was a fellow student with Francis Lucille under the teaching of Jean Klein. And Stephen Bodian said that after you wake up, and those glimpses are waking up. So I would say most everyone here has had a waking up experience. Even if you, and probably most of you don't even know that you had, or aren't willing to admit, or maybe afraid to say that I had an awakening experience, but you did. Most everyone here has had an awakening experience. And what happens is we wake up, and what Stephen said was, once you wake up, then you'll spend the rest of your life waking down, undoing all of those things that you have identified yourself on the spiritual search. Because once the glimpse of awakening occurs, you can't unsee what you saw. And that's why there's such a strong attraction to, I want to see that again. I want to have another awakening experience. It lasted, I've heard people say it lasted for a week or it lasted 3 months, and I can't get it back. And that last statement that I just made, trying to get it back is what keeps people from actually re-seeing what is always present as awareness. And so anyway, the purification is necessary for everyone, and you can be awake. You can be wide awake as awareness as the purification is occurring, because the purification isn't happening to your true nature. The purification isn't happening to pure awareness. The purification is happening in the undoing from the identity of what you made yourself an image to be. And that takes time, because there's so much habitual residual energy and beliefs that are attached to the body-mind identity. If you're new, I've invited everyone to use the hand raise feature. I don't know how to raise hand. Who said that? Oh, Ariana, that was you. If you would like to raise your hand, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, we'll rest in God. I see Pamela has her hand up. Would you please unmute your mic?
Yeah, hi, thank you.
Hi.
I started with this stuff back in August, and I did the 40-day program, which took about 3 months for me to do. And I finished that on the November 15th, and then started with the group 40-day program. And then I had a tsunami of business that came, like more business than I've ever had in my life. And it was like a tsunami. It just came and grabbed me out of this whole thing, out of all this stuff that was really so beneficial for me. And I feel like I'm having such a hard time getting back into it. And I feel bad that that happened. It's like a mixed feeling, because I like business. I'm a businesswoman, and the business coming is nice. However, it took me away from all of this work, and I'm having a hard time getting back into it on a daily basis like I was doing. And I guess the question would be, do you have any suggestions for that?
Are you following the non-dual Course in Miracles lessons?
I'm not following those. I've been trying to follow Lisa's 4 weeks, but I'm just having a hard time doing it.
Oh, are you in the Integrated Awakening series?
Yeah.
Well, don't go any further. Stay right there. And Pamela, there's as much business and it's a blessing to have the business. You have to decide if you want this enough to give the time, to set aside the time that is being offered or to being asked of you to go deeper into this understanding. And you can do both. You can, if there's something that you really want, in this world, like you obviously want to be a good business person. So you've achieved that. Check the box. Now, if this other thing to go deeper into a spiritual understanding and to know the self, to know your identity, I mean, not in a religious way, because I did the religious thing for many years, and many people here have, and it's not the non-dual understanding. It's not the direct path of knowing the self, and it just won't get you to where you it won't get you where you would like to be, but you have to give the investment of time to something that you want above all else. And this is why Jesus said to his disciples 2,000 years ago, or he said it to the rich young ruler. He said, Rabbi, how can I enter this kingdom of heaven? And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about entering the kingdom of heaven while you're still in a bodysuit, while you're still running a business, while you're still raising a family, while you're still going skiing or going on these great, you don't have to lose your life. However, you have to want it more than you want your life. You have to want this awakening experience more than you want to breathe. And if that's not your highest desire, then you're probably going to spend a long time getting to the place of awakening. It has to be something that you want more than you want your next breath.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And I guess I have fear because, because I've been homeless and I want to have a home. I want to buy a home. So don't have to experience that again. And,
Yes.
and so, so I have conflict because, the business is coming and I want that home and I don't know when the business will not come, so it's a conundrum.
Well, it is and it isn't, Pamela. The mind wants you to believe you can't have both. I have been homeless. I've been homeless with a 3-year-old, single parent. And you can have you only have to have the desire to know the self. And once that catches hold, don't believe anything that the mind says that you can't have both, because you can. You can have both. But you have to, it's kind of like you have to make the conscious step in saying, I want this above all else. I want this more than I want my home.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
kind of like that's why Jesus said to that rich young ruler, oh, sure, no problem. Sell everything that you have, give it to the poor, and follow me. The rich young ruler went, oh, shit. I'm not going to do that. I'm so totally rich. He wasn't going to, he walked away sad in that story. So but it doesn't mean, because listen, I was a single parent. I wanted to be able to take care of my kid, but I also wanted God more than anything. And I realized that it's not something that it's something that you have to be willing to do. And it has, and that willingness will set in motion the power to do both, to have both. But you have to initiate it with a willingness to want this above all else. That's why if you follow the Course in Miracles, you'll see workbook lesson 28 and 29 starts out with the title that says, above all else, I want to see. And then 29 says, above all else, I want to see things differently. It's because you have to come to a place where you want to wake up more than you want the home, more than you want the business, more than you want health, more than you want anything. And it's the thing that will power you into awakening, and everything that you need to do your busyness, your busy life will be given to you. But if you want the home and you want the comfort above that, you'll be given that instead.
Okay. Thank you.
Don't, and I'm going to give you just a little bit of insight. I'm going to ask you a question, Pamela. Are you aware of this experience right here?
This experience that I'm having right here.
Right now, are you aware of this experience?
Well, now that you mentioned it, I am.
Okay. And what is it that is aware of this experience?
I guess me.
Okay. And without the use of memory, tell us about me.
Can I have an easier question, please?
No, you just saw who the true me is. When you couldn't answer the question, you just glimpsed at awareness in its purest state.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I ask you, what is it that is aware of this experience, you're looking at your true nature. You're looking at your I am presence, and this is available to you all the time. This awareness, if I invite you to close your eyes and I ask you if does this awareness have a gender?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, does this awareness have an age?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, good. So you can open your eyes now. Pamela, this awareness is your true self. This awareness is the kingdom of heaven. And it's not some special thing that you can't have. You are this. You can't not be it. And I would invite you to go to this place of awareness. Be aware of Pamela's activities. Even be aware of Pamela's confusion or conundrum. Be aware of that as awareness without a commentary. Be aware of the commentary, even. Be aware of the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the fears. Be aware of that. And allow awareness to melt the false self. Allow awareness to begin to melt the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions and the conundrums, just being aware of the Pamela Claire movie, and you will see that the essential self is available 24/7. It's always right there, being aware of all experience. And that will really support you in the desire of the heart to know the self. Even the businesswoman that wants to have the business and the home and all that stuff, just be aware of those activities. And if there's frustration or sadness, awareness is aware of that. There's a workbook lesson, number 155, that says, I will step back and let him lead the way. Take the him out. There's no him. I, Pamela Claire, will step back and let awareness lead the way. And that's your birthright. That's you we all come in with that birthright. And if you are able to see that awareness doesn't have a gender, it doesn't have an age. You glimpsed it when I asked you to tell us about me without the use of memory. You saw the pure presence of awareness. So
Thank
it's not excluding you, even the one that wants to have the business and the nice home.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. We have about 10 minutes left. If there's any questions, I'll be back again next Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Ariana, would you like to unmute your mic?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to make sure that I understood "don't touch it" in my particular circumstance, because I think that I was thinking "don't touch it" would mean just staying in awareness and observing it. But what does it mean to not touch it when you're in sadness and you're feeling sadness? Like, because I'm feeling it, I can't stop myself from feeling it. It just means not wanting to change it, not interfering with it, just allowing it to be and having as much space as possible.
Yeah, and Shelley just said it too. Don't judge it. Don't judge Ariana. And you have the ability to move your attention to the awareness of the experience
Right.
without judging the experience, without wanting it to be different, without, and also without wanting it to go away. Just, just, and you can learn how to love it. You can learn how to express love for it. Or if you understand the holiness lessons 37, 38, 39 in the course, the holiness lessons, my holiness envelops everything that I see. My holiness, and holiness is just another word for love. My holiness envelops everything that is occurring right now, and just allow it to be exactly as it is without changing it. Sadness, just envelop it with holiness. My holiness envelops everything that I feel, and just, but not touching it. It means don't log in and begin to make a story out of it and tell your friends about it. And or write it out if you want. Journaling can be very helpful. writing out how you feel. And then as you're writing, be aware of the writer, Ariana, and allowing her to just to feel her feelings and do what she's doing, but step back just enough to where you can be aware of the Ariana movie without logging in.
And making it my identity. Yeah. Logging in is like making it my identity.
It's, because who are you?
Right.
Who are you really? You are the I am. When Jesus said, I am before Abraham, I am. You are that same I am. And as soon as the I am becomes the experience, you've logged in.
Right. Okay.
You've touched it.
Yeah. That's good. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Okay.
Linda Joy, would you please unmute your mic?
Yes, hello. I've spent the last 20 minutes talking myself out of sharing, so I will make this quick since we're almost at closing. But I want to thank you, Bill, so much. I've been in and out of the program since the early 80s. And this time around, I am back, very seriously back, and been doing very deep spiritual studies all that time. And the reason I say that is last year was the first year I did every single lesson, every single day. And you helped me do that. And I'm still patting myself on the back because it feels so good.
Yes,
And
I'll pat you on the back too.
and I'm doing them again. And what occurred to me is that I should get this by now, right? And then I went back and read the introduction, and it said, don't get upset if it doesn't make sense to you. And just do it. And I really heard that. And, if it says to do it 3 or 4 times a day, I'm committing to doing that this year. And it feels good. And I'm so glad I'm going to be doing it with you.
Mm-hmm. Can you turn your video on?
I can't. It's not working right now, and I apologize for that. That's another reason I hesitate to talk, because I don't like to talk and be blank. But I'll get it going next week.
So, Linda, I just want to mention that good on you for doing the year. It sounds like there's a doing that is taking a primary role in this experience, and the non-dual translation is really to help you to not feel like you're on the hamster wheel and that you got to get this and you got to figure this out. It's so much easier than that.
Okay.
That the doing is a hamster wheel, and it sounds like you're further along than the mind is willing to recognize.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't want you to get caught on that hamster wheel, because if you like Pamela was saying that she did the 40-day and she really wants to go deeper in this. And she's in a program, the Integrated Awakening series, that will take her all the way to the finish line. And she just needs to show up on Mondays at 3:00 or just watch the replays. And it's going to be a fast track to awakening for anyone that's involved in the Integrated Awakening series. These are the greatest teachers in the world today.
I'm doing that one too.
You are. Well, then what I would say to you is follow those teachers.
Okay.
And if you feel a move to open the course and it sings to your heart. Let it be for singing to your heart.
Okay.
Let it be there for singing to your heart, not to take you to a destination. Because I'm telling you, if you're in the Integrated Awakening series, you're in the right place.
Okay. And I also like James Twyman's musical versions too. Maybe I'll kind of use that to supplement my my other work.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I love those songs too. I was with Jimmy when he first started writing those, and
Mhm.
they're beautiful.
They're awesome.
I
Yeah.
have some favorites of my own, but I when I read the course, whether it's the workbook lessons or the text, I read it for the love of the poetry and the language,
Yeah.
not so much the dualistic language, because I've graduated from that, and I don't need it so much. And
Thank
I
you,
don't
Bill. And
Thank you, Linda. It's good to hear your voice, and I do remember your name from the Facebook Lives in the morning. Yeah,
okay.
welcome back. Well, I think we've come to the end of our time, everyone. And if you have any questions, you can write to me at billfreeonline@gmail.com. And if you have a question, I'll bring that question in live here. And if you're not here live with us, you'll get a copy of the replay. And it's good to see all of you, and blessings on you the rest of your Sunday. And I'll see you next